Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a CNC cage for your guinea pig or other small animals. Now many of you have probably seen the cage before in some of my past videos behind me, and today I'm going to show you how I made it. We originally made this back in September for our piggies, and since then we've changed a lot. I realized I had made a few mistakes when making this cage, so I'm going to share everything I know and learned so you guys can make a safe home for your little fuzzy bums as well. I will have all the materials that we use listed in the description down below, so if you're interested in looking at anything that we use, definitely check there. The first thing we did was vacuum the area where the cage was going to go to prep the area, and then we mapped out exactly how we wanted our cage to be laid out. The great thing about building your own cage is that it's completely customizable, so you can build the cage to have 2 floors, or the cage to be on top of a table, or to have a really wide open floor plan. That's what we did. We opted to just build a large square and then have them be placed on the floor. I'll have a link in the description for guidelines for how big your cage should be. The more piggies you have in your cage, the more room you'll need, especially if they are boars. Boars need a lot of room because they're very territorial and they will fight each other sometimes even if they get along. I highly recommend putting a shower curtain liner underneath the cage as well to protect your floors. There shouldn't be any leaks from the cage, but it's always nice to have some extra protection. So to build the cage, I used zip ties to hold the cubes in place. I started from one corner and worked my way across that side and then through the middle to the other side. I put a zip tie at every corner for extra security and stability. To tighten, I pulled on the tail and wiggled it back and forth to get it as tight as I could. So far, I found that to work very well, and I've never had an issue with the cage moving or collapsing on itself, so I highly recommend that method. One mistake I did make was having the clasp of the zip tie facing towards the cage, because that will be like a little knob that the piggies can chew on. You'll want those knobs facing outwards so your piggies won't have that grip to chew on. Occasionally, as I worked my way through creating the cage, I went back through and clipped off all of the excess tails from the zip tie. Then once the cage section was done, I began placing the coroplast. This material is also called corrugated plastic sheets. I found mine at Home Depot near the glass section, but I'm sure you can find it at any hardware store. I cut and scored the coroplast on the edges to make it easy to fold, and then I used duct tape to secure the sides. It was definitely one of those rare times where something is actually more complicated than it looks. I did this part by myself, so if you do have someone helping you, it shouldn't be an issue, but doing it by myself was definitely a challenge. Like I said, we made the mistake of getting a piece of coroplast that wasn't exactly the best fit, so I had to use a lot of cutting chunks of coroplast and duct taping pieces together to make one big insert for the cage. While I do highly recommend duct tape to secure your edges and corners, my biggest mistake was putting some on the inside of the cage where the piggies can bite it. You will see some on the inside in this video. Do not put any on the inside. That was a huge mistake that I made at first. Piggies don't know any better, and they can and will chew on the duct tape, which is dangerous. They can choke on it, or it can be ingested and there can be a blockage in their intestines, which can be fatal. Scary stuff. So don't make that mistake. Within 2 hours of finishing the cage, we went back in and removed all of the tape that was on the inside, and we put all of the tape on the outside where it was out of reach of the piggies and they couldn't chew on it. Once I was done with my coroplast, I placed it inside the cage and added their bedding. As you can see in the video, I didn't have enough at first, but eventually we went out and we got one of the big 90 cubic inches of bedding, and that was enough to fill the cage twice. So each one of those containers was 2 cage changes for us.
Mommy! Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh my goodness! Uh-oh. There's 2 tunnels, Bubbas.
The piggies loved their new cage Because of how large our cage is, we found the paper bedding to be super hard to care for, so we ended up switching to a fleece bedding with puppy training pads underneath for absorption. It works so much better for us, and the piggies like it better too because it's easier for them to run around. The piggies love their new cage. They have so much more room to run around and popcorn and be happy and free, which they didn't have before in their store-bought cages, so I'm definitely glad that we decided to go ahead and build a CNC cage for them. In total, it took about 2 hours to build the whole cage, and it was well worth it. I do think we are going to redo the cage sometime in the near future to give the piggy the new layout. We'll keep the same surface area probably, but I'm thinking of trying a 2-story cage next time. And for those of you wondering, reconfiguring the cage should be fairly easy. We just need to buy some new zip ties and maybe a small sheet of coroplast for touch-ups. So that is how we built our CNC cage. Let me know if you have any questions, and make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching my piggies and I, and we will see you in our next video.